Hi, everybody. It's episode 514 of PodQuest.
Hey.
I am Chris. With me is just Walnut today. Druten
Yeah.
wasn't feeling well.
Yeah, he apparently has a headache. Ooh. I mean, I get it. Sometimes I have headaches. I'm always tired, so I don't get those tired headaches like you guys are saying. But, like, I get it. Headaches suck.
I mean, if I have one of those days where, like, either we're out late and I know that I'll be up on the earlier side, or if I just know that I'm not tired when I need to be, and I just know it's going to I'm not going to fall asleep forever and I have to be up crazy early for work, I just take aspirin ahead of time now just to hope that maybe it helps, because those lack of sleep headaches are just the fucking worst.
Yeah, I don't really experience those.
Well, that's because you have insomnia, so you are always lacking sleep.
I don't think I have insomnia.
I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there.
No, I don't think it's insomnia. It's just, I don't know. It's not insomnia, because it's not that I can't sleep. It's just that I just don't go to sleep. And then whether I'm tired or not, I still feel the same. Whether I get 8 hours or 4 hours, I still feel the same.
That seems unhealthy. But I don't think I said the date. It is Wednesday, June 19th, 2024. And it's middle of the afternoon. We're recording early because it's Juneteenth. So
yeah. Happy Juneteenth.
Walnut had off. I don't, but it's kind of my lunch hour-ish. I can take my lunch when I want to. So
yeah.
And it's going to be a slow afternoon, so I figure now is as good a time as any.
Get it done now so that we're done. We don't have to rush. We can just talk about whatever we want to talk about and just have a good, chill time and then get stuff done afterwards.
Well, I'll have some work to do afterwards, but
I have more video editing. I edited 3 today so far, and I'm planning on editing anywhere between 2 to 5 more. But 4 of them I have to record, so we'll see how it works.
I mean, that's a lot of recording to do. So yeah, you'll be a little busy too.
Yeah.
How's everything else going? How's the leg feeling?
Oh, the leg's feeling great. It's yesterday is 3 weeks left in the cast, so it's almost time to take the cast off. And I can't wait. We spent the entire day out on Sunday in the city, and we went to the Penn Museum, and then we went to this restaurant in North Philly. Not North Philly. I guess maybe North Philly, technically. Upper Liberties, I think. Northern Liberties. And it was, I was in a wheelchair at the library. The museum. They let you rent it. And it was nice. Not even rent. You just have to bring it back, but it's take your driver's license. And it was nice.
Really? They take your driver's license for it?
They take your driver's license, and then you can borrow this way you bring it back. So it's, instead of charging you to rent the wheelchair, they just hold on to your driver's license until you bring it back your wheelchair.
I mean, that does make sense. I've never had to do that, so I didn't realize they took your license for it.
Yeah. But it was nice. The museum was nice. I've never been there. It's more of an ancient history museum. I
had never even heard of it.
Neither have I. But it's on South Street, but it's not like the South Street, it's by Penn campus.
Oh, so like up in the 30s, 35th, 36th Street.
It's right next to the Coliseum up there.
Okay, yeah, so around 35th Street, I want to say that is.
Yeah. And it was nice. I liked it. But it was nice that they had wheelchairs. My wheelchair felt like one of the tires was blown, but it was what it was. We had a good time. And dinner was delicious. It was this Mexican restaurant and barbecue. Oh man, we had so much food and we just couldn't stop. They had smoked wings, which were delicious. I had a chorizo and potato tacos, and then we ordered a barbecue platter with pulled pork, pulled chicken, and brisket, because they didn't have any of the other stuff. We were going to try to get sausage or pork butt, and they didn't have the sausage or pork butt, but it was good. I want to go back. I don't remember the name of the place, but it was delicious.
Well, just look around Google Maps. You can probably find it.
Yeah.
I assume it was out near there.
Northern Liberties. So we went from South Philly to North Philly, basically.
Oh, wow. Well, that's fun.
Yeah, it was a good Father's Day.
Northern Liberties. Was it a bar?
Yeah, bar and restaurant. El Camino, I think, or something like that.
I wonder if that's one of the places we've been. Because there's a couple of restaurants we've been to up near the Fillmore that like sit right on like the edge of Fishtown and Northern Liberties.
Mm-hmm. Where is this?
It's Front Street here.
I think it's is it this one? Yeah, El Camino Real, I believe is what it was called, or I don't know, because this doesn't look like the street view doesn't look like what it was. I don't think. No, yeah, El Camino Real.
Okay, that is not one of the ones we have been to, but it is one of the ones that like we have looked at.
Yeah,
as like a place to go.
Go there. It's delicious. It's delicious. It's got Mexican food. It's got barbecue. It's got sandwiches. I want to go again. It has like tequila flights. You don't really drink tequila or anything like that, but it's got like all Mexican beers and things like that too. It was delicious. Everyone had a good time there. Everyone had a good meal.
Nice. Yeah, we've been to on that literally on the same street, just a little further down. There's Anejo, Philadelphia, which is like a Mexican bar restaurant, and then like a little more south from there, still on 2nd Street, is Cantina dos Segundos, which that place does a bunch of vegetarian stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like they have like house made like vegetarian like empanadas with like vegetarian chorizo and stuff like that.
This place had vegetarian wings. They had seitan wings.
Nice.
And you could get like vegetarian tacos and things like that too.
Nice. That's good to know. Yeah, a lot of times if we're over there and we're getting Mexican, we go over to that cantina place just because like Erica can get like actually pretty decent food, and it's not like a black bean burger or something like that, like or shrimp tacos, because that's usually the default at like a Mexican restaurant is shrimp tacos.
Yeah.
But no, she can get like empanadas and stuff with like seitan or whatever they make like their vegetarian chorizo out of.
Yeah, my dad got, was it fish tacos or shrimp tacos? He got one, it's fish or shrimp, I can't remember, but it had fried crispy chicken skins in it.
Nice.
And he was like, that's weird, but that's delicious. It sounds delicious.
Nice. Yeah, my week's been weird because I was telling you before we started, Ben had a vet appointment to get an ultrasound. So he had all those stomach issues like end of last month, beginning of this month.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to get one of those scheduled because there's only one doctor at our vet that does them. And like he wasn't in like dire need of it because like we did blood work and all and that came back fine. But like rather than like putting them like under to do that, they initially just prescribe you some medicine to give them at home to hopefully like that will sedate them so that the doctors can just do what they need to do without the dogs like fussing and all. So I think he got 1.5 tablets of trazodone, which is like a sedative, and 2 tablets of something else that I don't remember what it was called, but it was something in people, it's for like restless leg syndrome. I'm not sure what it does for dogs. It might be the same so that like if a dog's asleep, their legs aren't like twitchy and stuff like that while they're under. But so gave that stuff to Ben. His appointment was at 8:30. Gave it to him at 6:30. By the time we left, you could tell he was a little woozy. I had to like help him get into the backseat of the car. By the time we got to the vet, he was just done. Like we went into like the little exam room and like the vet tech came in just to like do like a weight, like make sure that all we needed to worry about that day was the ultrasound. And we had to pick him up just to get him back on his feet to walk out of the room so that he could go get the ultrasound.
Oh, buddy.
And then when they brought him back in, he just kind of immediately laid down. And then he was laying with his head up, but his eyes closed. And at one point, he's just laying there, and the vet's telling me like what she saw in the ultrasound, which luckily was clear. And he just kind of like fell to the side, like not like a normal like dog, like kind of like lay on their side. Like you just watch him in slow motion, kind of just slowly drift until he was like finally like his mass was like too much to stay up, and he just like collapsed.
Oh, buddy.
I'm like, Benny, bud. And then leaving, the vet tech had to help. Like I basically had his leash and was kind of like guiding him and trying to keep him from like stopping. And she was kind of behind him, like kind of scooting his butt, making sure that like he didn't like fall down or anything. And we get to about the middle of like the grass outside of the vet. And he's like not really walking very well, and also like keeps sniffing things. So I'm finally just looking at the vet tech. I'm like, can you just hold his leash for a minute? My car's over there. I'm just going to go open the car doors and then just carry him over to it. So that's what I did. Like I opened my car and then I just picked him up, carried him over, laid him on the back seat. Didn't think about getting home, how hard it is to pick up a 55-pound dog from your back seat.
Yeah.
I ended up just having to do wrap my hands around like under his arms and just kind of like stand up out of the back out of the car and just kind of like carried him in with his legs dangling. I'm like, I'm sorry, Benny, but there's nothing I can do. And I walked him right over to the sofa and just kind of like laid him down on there, and he did not move off the sofa for, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours.
Oh, old man Benny.
Yeah. And the rest of the day, he was, like, if he was laying down, he was just kind of collapsing. Like, there was no... He's already not a very graceful dog, but he was just, like... He'd start to lay down, and he would just be like, nah, never mind, and just kind of, like, let himself fall.
Yeah.
I ended up... He couldn't have breakfast in the morning, so when I got home, I had to feed him. I ended up having to put... I put his food into just, like, a paper, like, throwaway bowl, and just, like, put it on the sofa next to him, because there was no way he was going to be able to, like, walk into the kitchen and eat at his bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And he did. He just kind of, like, laid there just slowly kind of, like, taking a bite, chewing for a few minutes, going in for another bite, falling asleep, getting back up, chewing for a minute. It was very funny.
Silly buddy.
Yeah. But, that aside...
Yeah.
There was some stuff. There's some things. What's on the agenda?
So there was a Nintendo Direct yesterday on Tuesday. Then guys, I played Dead by Daylight and tried out the new villain Vecna from Dungeons and Dragons.
Stranger Things.
No, it is Dungeons and Dragons Vecna. It's not Stranger Things Vecna.
That's like the same thing to me.
No, they're not. But it is.
I've heard it both ways.
No, it doesn't even look like Vecna from Stranger Things. It's Dungeons and Dragons Vecna. Stranger Things took it from D&D. It's D&D Vecna.
I don't know. I mean, Stranger Things is based in the 80s. Maybe D&D took it from Stranger Things.
No. And then, Cobb, you read the Spider-Man Gang War comic event, and I watched X-Men First Class. So, kind of light, but also kind of busy day, because that Nintendo Direct, like... I know we went over a bunch of trailers and whatnot last week with the Summer Game Fest stuff going on, but like, and I straight up said like I am not a big fan of watching these anymore because I can't get into just trailer fests. But I always watch Nintendo's because I'm a Nintendo stan. If it's Capcom or Nintendo, I'm all about it. Except for Street Fighter. Fuck Street Fighter. And so I watched this and I was pleasantly surprised at how happy. I was surprised at how happy I was with this event. Yeah,
there were so I didn't write down all of them, but there were a lot of things that just looked like they could be cool, and some things that we knew about, some things that were brand new and very exciting.
Yeah. So I mean, we can I want to just say it. We're gonna open it. I want to open it up with what the last thing they dropped, because it wasn't really much of anything besides a date, and it wasn't even a date. It was a year.
Well, I mean, it was a full trailer.
It was a full trailer, but we finally got like a full Metroid Prime 4 trailer.
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond.
And it's slated next year, sometime next year.
Yeah, which I kind of expected it to be next year if they showed it off at all.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, like most of the summer Nintendo Directs, it's pitched as a games in the second half of 2024 and a couple things coming out in 2025.
Yeah.
I have to imagine, based on like some of the other 2025 games they showed, that there's a good chance Metroid Prime will be in like Q1 or at least the first half of 2025. I can't see them having given it the date, because they don't do that a year in advance all that often, or more than a year in advance.
It'll be before next summer's event for sure. So sometime in the first 6 months of next year.
Yeah, I could see it coming out in like that February, March, like right before like the end of like fiscal years, or Q1, if you will.
Yeah, and that's the one reason why I like watching Nintendo's coverages, because they show us this year. They don't go much beyond this year. They don't go like, hey, this is what we're working on 6 years from now. No, it's here's what's coming out in the next 6 months. 6 months to a year, which is nice. It's nice to see. It's refreshing because then you'll have Microsoft, or like, let's go Microsoft, because the only name I can think of with Microsoft is Bethesda. You'll have Microsoft and Bethesda pop out, and they'll show the next Elder Scrolls game, which they did like 2.5 years ago, and we still haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, like they're teasing stuff for the hype, but then I mean, even Fable, like Fable was announced, I want to say in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
This was the first time since then that they have shown the game, and there wasn't even like a year attached to it. It was just simply, yes, this game is still in development.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do appreciate that Nintendo does tend to keep it pretty solid, and they generally, because Nintendo names their stuff differently, like, you know, if it's a Nintendo Direct, it's going to have a lot of first party stuff and then also some third party. Whereas like they do like their indie showcases and some other stuff where, you know, it's like, okay, this is just going to be smaller games. Like you're not going to get a Mario or a Zelda or a Metroid or anything like that shown off there.
Yeah.
Whereas like Sony's State of Play, it wasn't even a showcase this year. Like I don't know that there were any first party games that they really showed off there. I think for the most part, it was either ports of games going to PC that were first party or like third party stuff. Like they didn't have that big game.
Yeah. But yeah, with Nintendo, so that was their final thing was Metroid Prime 4. And there's so much substance in this that I was just like, man, there's too much and I want it all. Mario and Luigi Brothership, that's the cutest name for a Mario and Luigi game ever. But
that was actually a really good name.
I've always loved the Mario and Luigi games. They're usually generally RPG style, or at least they were on DS. This one looks a little bit different. I don't think it's quite RPG. It looks like you might be controlling both Mario and Luigi, like platform style at the same time or something. I'm not really sure, but I'm interested in that. I'm excited in that one. I've always loved the Mario and Luigi games. Other than that, what was it? The Nintendo World Tournament or something like that, which I'm surprised you didn't have that to your list, Kyle.
I mean, it's time trials and stuff like that for old Nintendo games.
Yeah, so Nintendo World Championship NES Edition, which I think was something that they wasn't that launched forever ago? Like, wasn't that a thing that they launched on NES or something like that?
Nintendo World Championship is legitimately like a thing that they used to do.
Yeah,
like they just had one a couple years ago, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, like that just wasn't all that interesting. Like it's just time trials on old games, and I generally don't care about time trials.
But you love speedrunning.
Yeah, but that's not speedrunning.
But like I'm not too interested in the gameplay itself, but I do kind of want that collector's edition.
It was a cool collector's edition.
Just being a collector of games and the feeling that this is going to be similar to Super Mario 3D All-Stars, or it's going to be limited release. I don't know if they actually said that. I don't think they did, but I have a
collector's editions always are.
But like I think that's the edition they showed is just the physical edition is just, it's not collectors. That's just how they're selling it.
Oh, maybe.
I'm not 100% sure, but like I want that. I want it. I kind of just want it. Then Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom.
Well, hang on. You're jumping all over the place, man.
Look,
there were so many games between there and the beginning.
Do you really care about all the rest of these games?
I do, actually. But I wanted to jump back to Mario and Luigi for a second. I got distracted. I had a work email I had to respond to. But that Mario and Luigi game does look really cool. I have never played any of those. So what was it? Bowser's Inside Story and what's the other one called?
Wasn't it like Mario and Luigi Superstar Rush or something like that?
Superstar Saga.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. I know people really love those two games though.
Yeah.
And I think it's very cool that like that game actually, at least from what they showed, it looks like the actual gameplay looks like the box art essentially. Like I don't know how else to say that. Like it's not like a weird like take on that. Like the the cutscenes kind of transitioned right into the same gameplay, which I thought was kind of neat for that style of game, because I'm so used to seeing them as the, what was it, GBA and DS were what those games were on originally.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I like that one. I'm probably going to get it since it comes out in November. I might not get it when it comes out, but I will probably pick that up.
Yeah.
But did you really not think that Mio Memories in Orbit looked cool?
I must have missed that.
So it's the one where the trailer opens up with like this weird little dude with like a helmet and like a bunch of cables in him, like comes out of like a bunch of cables. And then it was like, it was a Metroidvania like action platformer, but you're kind of like Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man. Like you use like those like tentacle wire things to like climb walls and attack and everything. I thought it looked really cool.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Like I remember vaguely seeing it. I might have gotten pulled into a work thing or was doing a work thing when this part came on. And I was like, it's definitely like in my style of gaming that I would be into it. But it's just like, I don't know. There was so much good in this that like brain can only hold so much information.
Yeah, I actually went back because I couldn't find articles that actually, listed everything. Like every site just had like the big stuff and then like one or two of the smaller things. So I was going to just go and rewatch the entire direct, but on Nintendo's actual YouTube, or no, I'm sorry, it was GameSpot. GameSpot had like the restream or whatever you want to call it of the YouTube on their channel, and they had actually timestamped everything. Mm-hmm. So I was able to just go through the timestamps and like jump to stuff, like get a quick refresher on what it was, and then copy it, like the name into it, which was nice.
Yeah. I'm rewatching the Mario and Luigi trailer real quick. It is RPG combat style. It's not like...
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought like there looked to be some strange platformy stuff going where you control each character separately, but I don't know.
Well, that game had some of that where like you would jump off of like Luigi to get boosted up onto like a higher thing, or in combat you would do like those team attacks that would require like synchronized button pressing and things like that.
Yeah.
At least that's what I remember them advertising for those games. Maybe that's not what happened at all. Also, Farmagia.
I completely missed that one.
Oh, it looks like your type of game. I'm just going to throw it out there. So you farm to raise plants that then turn into monsters. You then go like battle with those monsters like on an RPG quest, and you can make those monsters fuse into bigger monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks so all kinds of stupid, but in like a really fun way.
Yeah, it's the unfortunate thing is it's a little hard for me to look forward to something like Mio or Farmagia because you can tell they're not Nintendo exclusives.
Yeah, but that means it'll be easier to get on like on a good Steam sale or something.
I looked up both of these and they're both have Steam listings with a November Farmagia has a November 1 release date. So it's like day and date for both Switch and console or Switch and PC.
I think on some of these, like Xbox and PlayStation, just don't show off games like this, even if they're going to be on those platforms.
Yeah.
So like Nintendo's like, well, we'll show it off. Like our console is perfect for Metroidvanias.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited for the Dragon Quest stuff.
Look, you hear me all the time hating on the fact that remakes keep coming out and blah blah blah, but those games look beautiful. They
look really good. I have never played like early Dragon Quest. I've played a little bit of like 7 and 8. But like I really like that like HD 2D stuff, like from what it was, Octopath Traveler and Project Triangle Strategy or whatever they ended up calling that game. I think it was still Triangle Strategy when it came out.
Yeah.
Like just those gorgeous backgrounds with like the 2D kind of. They're not even like sprites, because in this game they actually look way more modern. But yeah, I thought those games looked cool, and I like that they're doing 1 through 3. They're just doing them.
Yeah, they're releasing 3 first, and then they're doing 1 and 2.
So according to the director guy, the creator, I think he was, timeline wise, 1, 2, and 3 are all like the same story, and 3 is a prequel. So 3 comes first, and then 1 and 2. So he's actually like, so we're doing this because we want you to play 3 and then play 1 and 2.
See, I thought like Dragon Quest was similar to like Final Fantasy, where each story was its own thing and didn't matter.
I think later on it got that way, but like Dragon Quest 1 predates Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Dragon Quest is like the original JRPG.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will actually November 4th. There's too many things coming out in November, so I probably won't get this in November. But like, I do kind of want to get this and like give the early Dragon Quest a try.
Yeah.
I also kind of want to play fucking Perfect Dark and Turok.
I was happy to hear about Turok. I've never played Perfect Dark, but I was happy to hear about Turok.
I've never played either of them, and I'm just kind of like, well, they're there. Like, I could just give them a quick shot, see how they play. Probably terribly because N64 controls don't work real well on modern controllers. Because frankly, when you have that extra analog stick, your brain just expects it to work. And spoilers, it fucking doesn't.
Yeah, and on top of that, like I love that they're releasing the Link to the Past 4 Swords combo on the GBA console.
Oh yeah, and Zero Mission, which I kept meaning to go back and look. Is Fusion already on there? Do you know?
Fusion's on there. Fusion's been on there.
That's what I thought. So I think at this point you can play every non-Prime Zelda game or Metroid game.
Prior to Zero Mission, you could have done that. Zero Mission is just the remake of Metroid 1, of the original Metroid.
Yeah, but they added stuff to it. There's a whole extra mission in there.
Yeah. But
so,
it doesn't really matter.
But like I'm pretty and maybe I'm wrong, but I know Metroid 1 is on the NES. Super Metroid is on the SNES collection.
Yeah.
I believe Metroid 2, the original, is on Game Boy. And I could have sworn they re-released the Metroid Samus Returns GB or 3DS remake on the Switch a couple years ago.
I think so. I think all of the original Metroids are on there up to Other M.
Oh, did they release Other M on there too?
No, Other M's a Wii game. I said up to.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Other M's a Wii game, so it wasn't. Other M's not in that, but.
Well, not in the free stuff, but I was also considering like Dread is a more classic Metroid game. That's on the Switch.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm pretty sure they released. Let me double check because I might be wrong. I thought they released the 3DS Metroid Samus Returns remake.
Well, it wouldn't be if they don't have 3D. They don't have DS on the Switch.
No, that I'm not talking about the collections. I'm talking about as like a game you can purchase. Like ported it to the Switch, which it looks like maybe they didn't. For some reason I thought they did.
I don't know.
I'm looking now, and it does not appear that they did. No, that one is still locked on the 3DS. That was like the last 3DS game because it came out in 2017.
Yeah.
Because I know like at this point almost everything up to Dread is playable on like the stuff that's built into the online service, and then Dread is its own standalone game. But I for some reason in my head, Samus Returns, the remake, got pushed over on the Switch too, but I guess it did not, and that's a little bit of a bummer.
No, I mean, but you can play Samus Returns on the Switch Online, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's true. But like Game Boy games suck. Like let's be real.
They're hard. They're hard to play. If it's not Tetris, it's hard to play.
Yeah, like Game Boy Advance is all right. Some Game Boy Color's not bad. Like Link's Awakening DX actually plays pretty well. But like a Metroid game or like the Mega Man games on like the original Game Boy, those were not fun at all. What was next? Oh, the fucking Marvel Capcom fighting arcade classics.
I am excited to play X-Men with a bunch of people online. Like that game's gonna be great.
Which one?
The X-Men Children of the Atom.
Okay. I thought that's what you meant.
No, I don't give two shits about the actual fighters in the game in this game, but I'll play the Punisher. I'll play X-Men Children of the Atom. I don't care about the rest.
See, I liked Marvel vs. Capcom. That both of them, like those games were fun. I won't play them online because that's not fun. But those games, like I don't know, there's something about like the tag team, like Spider-Man and Mega Man versus like I don't know M Bison and Proto Man or something like that. It's just fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care about fighting games. Also, I love the fact that you went Spider-Man and Mega Man versus Capcom character and Capcom character.
Yeah.
So the only Marvel character you chose was Spider-Man.
Yep. So I could not remember if there were any notable Marvel villains in Marvel vs. Capcom. but I was pretty sure M. Bison and Proto Man were playable on the Capcom side.
Mhm.
I haven't played those games in over 20 years. Like, I remember when Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was like an $80 used PS2 game back in the mid PS3, Xbox 360 era.
That's wild.
Yeah, like when I was at GameStop working still, that was one of the most expensive used games that we would get.
Yeah.
And there was a reason for it. Like, I don't think it was just like artificial scarcity. Like, there was actually like one version of that game was actually better than the others, and it may have been the PlayStation 2 version. But I don't fucking know. Are you gonna get Mario Party Jamboree?
I think I will. It's up to 20 players in
Online,
some modes.
too.
Online in certain modes. And I know a couple of streamers that might get it. I know some of my friends who might get it. So I'll probably get it. Honestly, out of everything that's announced throughout these, I'm more likely to get probably Mario Party and Legend of Zelda than anything else. As much as I love Mario and Luigi, I can probably wait on that. But like, it's also each of these are like almost a month apart. Well,
They really are.
It's only like 2 weeks apart from each other. Fucking hell. But like Mario and Luigi, I'd probably just wait to get that for myself for Christmas. But I know some streamers who are going to want to play Super Mario Party, and like having that 20-player mode, it'll just be fun if I can get 20 people to come on stream and play it with me.
Yeah, I wonder if it's if you do need all 20 people to have the game.
Who knows?
Yeah, they've done stuff in the past where like they didn't require that, especially if it's only certain modes that you can do with 20 players online. Because like I would be more likely to give it a shot online if I didn't have to own the game.
Yeah,
but like I'm not going to spend $60 on a Mario Party game that I'll play one time and be like, oh, this was not fun, and then put it on the shelf and just be sad that I wasted my $60.
Yeah.
But I will waste my $60 on the Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom.
But that's not a waste.
No, it's not.
That game looked amazing.
I love that the Link's Awakening remake art style that they're using on it.
Yeah. They're finally doing a Zelda-led Zelda game. Which I made this joke on stream last night. I was like, why isn't it Legend of Link? Like, you're trying to rescue Link now. It should be the Legend of Link. And then I was saying stupid shit like, men need more representation in video games, and what the hell? I was acting all incel on it. But no, this game looks absolutely amazing. I want this. I also still haven't gotten the Princess Peach game, which I really want to get. That looks amazing.
That Peach game does look good, and definitely looks better than the old Game Boy Advance, maybe original DS Peach game, where like her power was being sad.
Mm-hmm.
The new one actually looks like it could be fun.
Yeah. But this is really cool. Like, she gets the staff, the staff of, I don't remember.
I forget what they call the staff too. It's a new weapon.
The fairy is fairy of Tri, and it's like the wand.
Is it the wand of Gamelon?
I don't know.
I hope it's not. That was the old.
So it's the fairy's name is Tri, and use the power of the Tri Rod, TRI for both tries.
Okay.
And yeah, so you basically get the ability.
The Triforce.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. Because it's wisdom. She's got the Triforce of Wisdom. Get it?
Oh, that's true. Because what is it? It's power, courage, and wisdom, right?
Yeah, and she's got wisdom, and it's what is it? Echoes of Wisdom. But it's really cool because like throughout the world, you'll see blocks that you can copy and you can learn. And then you can place those blocks throughout the world to solve puzzles to get to spots.
But they're not just blocks; like they're items and creatures and stuff.
I use the term blocks loosely. Like you can find beds, you can find a block of water, you can find creatures, and you can copy them and you can paste them anywhere. And it's like I don't think you can only have one or the. It's like you can cycle through what you have learned. And you can figure out ways to solve puzzles or get over walls and things like that. Like one thing they show in the trailer is they're placing a bridge of beds to get up onto a wall. And I'm just like, this is so stupid but amazing. I love it. I cannot wait to play this.
Yeah, I really liked the water one, like where they had her just make a tower out of like the squares of water. and then swim up it. It reminded me of the one you haven't played Tears of the Kingdom, right?
Not yet.
It reminded me of one of the abilities in that. One of the abilities was like a you would basically teleport through a solid object above you.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of reminded me of that, just without the item having to be above you, because you start at the bottom and swim your way up. But yeah, even the using enemies as your weapons, essentially, like dropping like an enemy that you copied earlier and having them go fight for you.
Yeah,
like that was very cool. The yeah, like you said, like the bed and stuff, like using the bed as like stairs.
Mm-hmm.
That game's gonna be like fun to play, and probably really puzzle heavy versus combat heavy. Like where Tears of the Kingdom was definitely a little more combat focused in parts. Or I'm sorry, Breath of the Wild was a little more combat focused in parts. Because you didn't really have a lot of dungeons per se. I feel like this one's going to be loose on the combat and heavy on the exploration and
it's gonna be all about exploration and dungeons over anything else.
Yeah, it's funny when that trailer first started, I'm just like, oh, are they going to do Link to the Past remake like they did for Link's Awakening? Like that's kind of cool. And then they transitioned to this. I'm like, okay, no, this is cooler. Like I can play Link to the Past on like 7 different platforms. Like I'd rather have the new like play a Zelda game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's September. That's not that far away.
No. Which it's wild that like this, and again, this is how Nintendo works. Like they don't push things for a year and a half. This is the first we're hearing about it, and it comes out in 6 months.
Not in
3 months.
Yeah. End of September. You were right though. The 3 games that we had mentioned earlier, they are like just shy of a month apart for the most part, because it's September 26th to October 17th between Zelda and Mario Party, and then October 17th to November 7th between Mario Party and Mario and Luigi.
Yeah.
So you could get one a month if you were feeling fancy.
I could, and like, but it would be like. I would end up getting probably Zelda first, and then 2 paychecks from then would get the next one, which was Mario Party, and then 2 paychecks from then, which wouldn't be the 7th. The paycheck for the 7th would be the paycheck after that. I would get Mario and Luigi, so I'd be a little behind on it a little bit. But yeah, you could get one a month. You could prepare yourself for one a month, which to me, it's not that bad. One a month. It's not like you're getting 4 games in 1 month. You're getting 1 game a month. It's not that bad.
Yeah, exactly. And like, there are games that you're probably going to play longer than just that 1 month, especially like Mario Party. If you have people that do want to play, like that's a game that you can kind of revisit, like in perpetuity, essentially.
Yeah.
So last 2 games that I have written down at least. I believe this is the final bunch of Ace Attorney games that are going to get released on the Switch. They are it's the Ace Attorney Investigations collection, which are the Miles Edgeworth games, where you're playing from the prosecutor side and working with Detective Dick Gumshoe instead of against.
Yeah.
And I think at least one of the games in here might never have been released over here.
Ace Attorney Investigations 2 Prosecutor's Gambit.
That's the one that was never released
in English. Yeah.
Okay. So I remember when it was actually called Miles Edgeworth Investigations, I think, the DS one that was released here. Yeah, similar. It's similar to the great Ace Attorney games that came out a couple of years ago on Switch. That they made them in Japan, and just for one reason or another, we never got them over here. I think some of them just started coming out on like the back end of those games being popular here.
Yeah.
But I always like them. Like I have a little Phoenix Wright plushie thing hanging from my rearview mirror. I have had it in my car since 2007.
Nice.
Like every time I get a new car, I just move it to the next rearview mirror.
Yeah.
It's like that and my Easy Pass just keep going with me to new cars.
Nice.
So I will probably pick this up when it comes out I will pick it up eventually, but probably not in September, because I will be getting Zelda in September.
Yeah. The other thing that was announced before, I think the last thing you're going to mention, Phantom Brave, the Lost Hero.
Oh, I saw that, and like it sounded familiar, but didn't really like click anything.
So it's from the team who made Disgaea, and you play as this girl Morona who like controls spirits, and you can put spirits into like objects, and it's a tactical RPG, but there's no grid. And I'm like, this looks super adorable, but also super fun. I've started Disgaea, the first one, a million times, never beat it because that game I don't know what it was. The game's fun, but it's ridiculous. The combat system in the game is just wild. And like I'm super interested in this. I want to see how it looks when it comes out before I say whether or not I'm going to get it, but that's another 2025 game.
Yeah. And actually this last game is also a 2025 game. The 100-line Last Defense Academy, which is a terrible fucking name.
Yeah.
But it's from the team that does the Danganronpa games, which are like fun murder high school games.
Mm-hmm.
And this seems to be taking some inspiration from that, but going in a different direction where you actually have like RPG battles in it as these like weird mascot monsters are attacking this school that you had to enroll in after like your friend gets murdered by them while you're walking home from your normal school.
Mm-hmm.
Super Japanese looking game. I think it looked cool though. I like the Danganronpa games, so I'm probably going to give this a shot. And that's early 2025, so January, February most likely.
Yeah.
I wish they had a different name for it, but it is what it is.
No, I was like 50-50 with that game, but like I've never really gotten into Danganronpa games, and I saw that one. I'm like, this is weird. I don't know how I feel about it.
That's kind of why I want to try it because it just seems so weird.
Yeah.
But yeah,
too many games, man. There's just too many fucking games. There's so many games that I want to play even now that I can't even get into. Like,
yeah,
I still haven't gotten Tears of the Kingdom. Princess Peach. I'm sure I'm blanking on a bunch of games right now too that I want to play that I can't think of. There's too many games.
Yeah, there are a lot, and I mean, like there were, like you said at the beginning, we talked about over the last couple of weeks. The Sony had their showcase, direct, whatever the fuck they called it, State of Play. Then we had the Xbox one last week, the official Summer Game Fest one, which both of those were fine, but I feel like neither of them had like the real big announcements. Nintendo seemed to have the most kind of variety that appealed to me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Xbox definitely had a lot of stuff that I'm just like, okay, that's cool. Like people are gonna like that, but not necessarily a ton of things where I'm like, I need to play that game.
Yeah.
This one's like, I want to play Mario and Luigi. I want to play Mio Memories in Orbit.
Yeah.
I want to play Dragon Quest. I want to play the Marvel Capcom games, the Legend of Zelda, the Ace Attorney, the 100 Lives, the Metroid. Like so many games in here.
It's Nintendo really did good this year.
Yeah, and before we move on, Drew did send a message earlier that of the stuff in the Direct, he's actually considering getting Darkest Dungeon for the Switch because he might actually get through a run on it if he's not like, I guess, glued to the computer playing it. And he thinks Zelda looks neat and he likes the way that they're going with it. So he is like a more traditional Zelda fan, like the old like SNES area Zeldas. So there's a chance he might pick that up at some point. And
the only Zelda game he's ever played is Link to the Past.
Thought he played Ocarina too. Did he not?
I don't think he ever has.
But I mean, Link to the Past is the best of the Zelda games.
I disagree, but I also Link to the Past is one of the only Zelda games I played.
Wait, say that one more time.
Link to the Past is one of a few Zelda games I haven't played.
Oh, for some reason I thought you did try that one, but now I'm remembering that you never did get to it.
I did. A while back I played Legend of Zelda 1 and Link's Awakening, Legend of Zelda 2.
No,
or that's not Link's Awakening, it's The Adventure of Link. And throughout my life, I'm sure I've played bits and pieces of Link to the Past, but I've never actually beaten and played Link to the Past. I don't have anything against that style of Zelda game. I don't. I like that style of Zelda game. I don't think it's I don't think it's the best Zelda game, but I also, like I said, I've never actually played it all the way through to have a proper opinion. But I think Ocarina of Time is the best Zelda game.
So I don't dislike Ocarina of Time is fantastic. It's one of the best, but Link to the Past literally set the template for what Zelda became. Like it is the progenitor of the whole series from there. And I think it nailed everything just right. But like I would not say that you're wrong for thinking Ocarina is the best, especially if you've never played Link to the Past.
Mm-hmm.
You're not saying that like Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword is the best Zelda game. They're
No.
good, but they're not the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the Nintendo Direct of June 2024.
Yeah.
Tons of exciting things coming.
So much to play. Guys, you need to start supporting my stream so I can just play all this stuff full time and quit my job.
Nah. But what did you think of Dead by Daylight and the Stranger Things collab?
Okay. So, no, D&D, they've done a Stranger Things already. That's why I need to stress this. You know they did a Stranger Things collab already, right?
No, I've never played this game. I don't give a shit about Dead by Daylight. I'm just fucking with you.
I know, but the Demogorgon from Stranger Things Season 1 was a playable villain. Keyword was, because of licensing agreement issues, you cannot purchase him anymore. You can still play as him if you already purchased him prior to, but you cannot purchase him anymore. That's why I'm like, no, like they already did their Stranger Things. This is D&D. This is Dungeons and Dragons. This is Vecna from Dungeons and Dragons. Like, I don't even say Critical Role because like this is Dungeons and Dragons. But Matt Mercer voices Vecna, so obviously, it's great. I've played Dead by Daylight a few times, like not a lot, but enough to know and understand how to play the game. I did a lot of playing as a survivor. So in Dead by Daylight, it's an asymmetric multiplayer game where it's 1 versus 4. You have 1 villain, 1 murderer versus 4 survivors, and the survivors have to go around repairing generators. And once they repair enough generators, they can open the door and escape. The villain has to kill them. So every time the villain has to hit the enemy twice or hit the survivors twice, they'll fall to the ground. They then put them on a hook, and a timer counts down while they're on a hook. They can try to pull themselves out, but if they fail at pulling themselves out, which is just a random number generator kind of fail, if they fail at pulling themselves out, it increases the timer and makes it so that they have less time on the hook. If you hook a survivor 3 times, on the 3rd time they're dead immediately. Each villain that you can play as has different abilities, same as each survivor has different abilities. One of them has the abilities to be like more of a leader and make like repairing generators and healing time go faster, whereas other ones have like hiding abilities for survivors. For the villains, I've really only played as 2 villains, the Huntress and Vecna. The Huntress, she walks around and she hums wherever she's walking to give off her like her location. She's a hunter, but she likes people to know that she's there. She's very spooky. She has axes that she can throws, and then she can just do a normal attack. And she has a limited number of axes. So once you throw those axes, you have to pull some more out of like shelves that like are the survivors can hide in, out of like closet survivors can hide in. So like sometimes you go to grab more axes and you open it up and oh look, there's a survivor. You knock them and you put them on a hook. Vecna though, like each villain has their own abilities, but generally it's a ranged attack, a close attack, and then like some aura abilities with a loadout where you can get help finding enemies or things like that between. So like it gives you like sort of an RPG progression. Where you get blood points while you're playing the matches, and you can use them to fill out your web of abilities, and you can make your abilities stronger. So it's like if an enemy is this close, or if a survivor is this close to a generator and this happens, you will see their aura for this amount of time. Stuff like that. But Vecna has the cool thing about Vecna is they leaned very hard on D&D. So when the villain is playing as Vecna, one thing they have are treasure chests throughout the level that you can get magic items, very rare magic items. You can get the hand and the eye of Vecna, or they could be mimics, and that might hurt the players. Vecna can't open the chest. Vecna has 4 ranged attacks instead of just 1, but they're all set to a cooldown on the same button press. So you have to. So you get to like rotate out. So one of his abilities is a sphere of silence where he shoots it out and it just goes. And it's invisible to the players. It's only visible to you. And if a player enters into that sphere as it's going out, you get notified where the player is. And then like if they have any magic items, the magic items are dispelled for a certain amount of time. He has another ranged attack where he just throws out like 5 skeleton wraiths out and they go through walls and they just go. And if they hit something, they do damage. And if you have a certain ability, you get notified that like, oh, the skeleton barely missed or the skeleton hit it. He then has Mage Hand, which when you're running from the villain, you can drop down planks and the villain can't vault over them. The villain either has to break them or walk around them. Well, Mage Hand, if you activate it on the right time, the player might go to drop the plank and the hand just holds it and you can just walk right through. Or the hand lifts it back up and you can just walk right through. And then the last one, which is ability I didn't really use much, is fly. He can fly, so he can vault over certain things, and he can fly and move a little bit faster. But when you're flying, you can't attack. So I was like, that's not really worth it for me. But it was such a cool way of playing a different sort of character in these games, because most of the time it's just like I've watched the Xenomorph being played as from Aliens. And he has his ranged attack, which is his tail, and then his claws is his close range, and then he can like go into vents and shift around in vents and move faster or something like that.
Okay.
The girl from The Ring, she can teleport through TVs. That's her thing. And like you can break the TVs to make it so she can't teleport as fast, but it's generally like she has a long range and a close range attack, and that's what it is. I don't think there's many. Even Chucky has. Chucky, the biggest difference with Chucky is because he's so short, they gave you a third-person perspective, but only in the direction that you're looking, and you cannot. It's kind of tank controls, I think. You walk in the direction that you're facing. You can't like walk sideways, but look. You can't walk left, but look right. I think you can only walk in the way you're looking because when you're playing as the survivors. It is an open camera third person. You can circle around, but you can look wherever you want and keep walking forward. But when you're playing as the villains, it's first person.
Oh, okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a way to like make it like a little bit more fair because it is heavy-handed that like it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be difficult. The villains are supposed to win. But like they try to balance it by like The players have ways to blind the villains and things like that. They do make it a little bit difficult, but it's supposed to be difficult on both ends. But Vecna, especially since he's a new release, only come out in the past 2 weeks, people don't really know how to counter him. People are still trying to figure him out. It made a noob like me, who's only played this game a handful of times, look good. I won a good majority of the matches I played, and he was so fun to play as. It was so fun to like throw a dispel sphere to the left, turn to the right, and start walking. And then once I hear the notification that something's in the dispel sphere, run towards that. Which like the identifier that something was in the sphere, like your little icon that shows where they are, is a fucking D20, which was amazing. It's like a 12-sided.
That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, it was great. And I love playing that game. There's only so much time I can put into playing it, especially if I'm playing as Survivor. If I'm playing as a villain, I can put a little bit more time. But I enjoy playing that game and playing as Vecna. It was just like this was so fun. I kind of want to try to get other villains now and see how they play, but nothing's gonna feel as nice as playing as Vecna. I don't think it will.
So they've just ruined the game for you?
Possibly. Who knows? But like that's generally how people when it comes to new villains, a lot of people will try out the new villain, but then go to their normal whatever they normally use, whatever they main. So like my main now is Vecna, but maybe if I try other villains, maybe I'll find another. There's another villain in that game where you basically summon a knight that comes along with you. Or like you can send a knight in front of you, and it's like you're basically in control of 2 villains at once, and you might be able to like, swap between the 2 or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, if you guys are fans of Dead by Daylight, and you have not played the new update with Vecna, definitely give it a shot. I think they also added a playable survivor who was an elf. I'm not sure though, but it was. I haven't looked at survivors. All I did was I bought Vecna and I went into it, and I had a blast. It was such a fun time. I was like it made me, like I said, it made me look good. I felt like I was doing good playing at this character. Like I felt like I was like actually like not. I didn't feel like I was actually winning. I was actually winning. I was on average defeating at least half the survivors, if not. There were several matches where I defeated all the survivors. Which, this is dumb. If the community were to hear me say that, they would turn around and call me toxic. You're an idiot. That's how the game is played. But the community wants the villain to at least free one survivor each time, which is bullshit. No, that's not how the game is played. The game is meant to you kill everyone, not let someone free.
You let somebody free, it's fine.
No, that's not the point of the game. The point of the game is here's the thing. If you're playing and you're playing a survivor and you're the last survivor, the game changes because it's no longer repair generators, because you're not going to be able to repair enough generators to escape. You're not going to be able to pull the switch to open the doors to escape. What happens is once there's one survivor left, a hatch somewhere on the map opens up, and it wasn't there before. It appears and opens up, and this hatch opens, and if you can get to the hatch, you escape and you win. Quote, you win. But you still have to find that hatch. There are some people out there that thinks the villain, if the villain finds a hatch, should sit there and tell the player where the hatch is. No, I'm going to fucking close that hatch, and you got to find a different way out of this game. Because that's the point of my role is to kill you. That's my role. I don't care what you think. That's my role in this game.
Which, I mean, yeah, like that. Those asynchronous multiplayer games, like if you get the killer or the villain or whoever like the single side is, like, yeah, that's what you're doing. Yeah,
it always makes me laugh. People find it toxic. There's also there's an item you can use that's a flashlight, and it blinds the villain. So if you can shine the flashlight into the villain's eyes, it will blind them. People say that it's toxic to use the flashlight.
Well,
no,
people are stupid.
No, it's part of the game. It's part of the game. You have to figure out a way to get around that. People are dumb.
People are dumb. You're right.
Yeah.
Especially on the internet.
Dead by Daylight and playing as Vecna was so fun.
Nice. Glad you had a good time.
Yeah, I would say, because I know both you and your wife like horror, but it's only multiplayer only games, so I don't think you guys would like it very much. But they're fun to play. They are fun to play with people that you know. They're so fun to play custom matches with 5 people you know, one of you being the villain and the other 4 being the players.
She also doesn't play a lot of games that require you to actually like use both analog sticks at the same time. Mm-hmm. So she tends. She would give it a shot, but I feel like she would end up being a little frustrated playing with other people because she wouldn't have time to get adjusted to playing, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like if they had a single player that you could mess around with, it'd be a little different.
Yeah, there's maybe a tutorial mode. I don't know.
Games like that never really appealed to me. But I'm glad you had fun with it.
Yeah, it's a great game. But yeah, tell us about Spider-Man Gang War.
All right. So I have been working on catching up on comics, and this was an event that ran at the tail end of last year into earlier this year. So the lead up to it started like October, November, and then the event itself ran till technically like March, though the majority of it wrapped up in February. And basically the setup for it was a couple of years ago now, Wilson Fisk basically got driven out of New York City. So he was the mayor and still also the kingpin. And what they did was Luke Cage became mayor, and Fisk basically just got exiled from New York after some stuff with Daredevil. So there was no kingpin of New York. So it was just all these different gang leaders. Some of them like that you'd remember from like the old cartoon, like Silvermane, the old guy with the robot body, Hammerhead, Madam Mask, who was in the cartoons, and just a bunch of others. all started like vying for power, including Tombstone, who got shot at the very beginning of it and was in like critical care. So literally a gang war breaks out between all these different gangs all throughout Manhattan and parts of Brooklyn, basically trying to claim as much territory for themselves as they could versus like whatever little pocket of the city they had previously. And a lot of it was tied to Spider-Man because it built out of that with him having a bunch of confrontations with Tombstone leading up to it. And then Robbie Robertson, who is Randy Robertson, who is Robbie Robertson's son, gets shot at the beginning of it, which kind of like pushes Spider-Man into trying to deal with it and getting a bunch of other heroes together to help him. So like the core book in Amazing Spider-Man, it was Pete, Miles, She-Hulk, Elektra, Daredevil, Spider-Woman. I think that was it. Yeah, so it was those 5 in like the core Spider-Man book kind of starting it. And then other than She-Hulk, they all kind of like split up and had their own books going on. While you also had Luke Cage had something going on in like a little mini-series, and Shang-Chi had something going on in a mini-series. Because right now, he's on this weird kind of outer layer where he is in charge of the Five Weapon Society, which is a criminal organization that he inherited from his father, but is trying to make them not a criminal organization, but still has to treat it like it's a criminal organization. So he's constantly on this sort of not trusted list with the other heroes. So he's got his shit going on. Luke Cage is in a situation where one of the things that Fisk did as mayor was outlaw vigilantes and superheroes in New York City. Mm-hmm. So Luke Cage can't technically do anything as himself. Being the mayor, if he goes out there and starts fighting these things, he is breaking a law. So he also gets a little team together with like some street level heroes. It's him, Danny Rand, who is not the Iron Fist anymore. He's just a dude that knows karate. Cloak and Dagger and Jessica Jones kind of form a little team, and they actually go battle Alistair Smythe, which, if you remember, like the 90s cartoon, he was like the dude that did the Spider Slayers and then like turned himself into that weird Spider Slayer monster thing. Mm-hmm. So while the event itself wasn't great, it had some fun like ties to like an older era of comics. Like you don't see Alistair Smythe all that often. You don't see a lot of like Hammerhead or Silvermane or Count Nefaria or any of these like weird kind of street level villains, because Spider-Man tends to be dealing more with the superpowered stuff and of late like just larger threats. And yeah, it not the best event. Frankly, like I wasn't a big fan of it because it's John Romita Jr. was on artwork for the Amazing Spider-Man books, and I don't like his art. A ton of people do. I think even as far as his artwork goes, those books just didn't look especially good. And I don't know, that Zeb Wells is the writer of it, and his run has just been very up and down. Some of the stuff was cool and interesting. Other times it's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, no one wanted this. Like, there was a whole arc where the previous writer had actually gotten Pete and MJ back together. Mm-hmm. And then, like, the very beginning of Zeb Wells' arc splits them up again and just has her married to another guy with 2, like, 8-9-year-old children all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. And, like, it took 2 years to tell that story, and the story was bad.
Yeah.
So it's been very hit or miss with his whole run, and I feel like this one kind of leaned a little more miss. But a bunch of the not a bunch, but some of the tie-ins actually ended up being really strong. Mm-hmm. All the stuff with Miles I actually really liked, and it was just the regular issues of his book that were just branded for gang war. So he's been dealing with stuff where it is both illegal to be a vigilante and illegal to be a teen superhero at this point in the Marvel Universe. So there's basically like a Suicide Squad-esque task force that's a bunch of villains without bombs in their necks working to take time off of their sentences by like working for the government and tracking down like villains and heroes that are breaking the law by being heroes and shit like that. So he's been dealing with that for a while, and you have kind of that play into it with those characters, which include like Scorpion is one of those characters. You have some of his allies that he's been fighting with showing up, like Misty Knight and Colleen Wing from like the Marvel Netflix shows. You know them. They've literally both been training Miles. Okay. And then like Miss Marvel shows up to help because they're friends, and a handful of other like characters that have just been in the Miles book show up as he's actually fighting Hobgoblin primarily, who is just doing all sorts of weird shit right now. So like his book was strong, and then the Spider-Woman book was actually really good. So last year, the year before, there was another Spider-Verse crossover they did where Jessica Drew was temporarily like erased from existence. And when that happened, everything about her was erased, including like people's memories of her or the fact that like she had a child. But like the child doesn't disappear. Just the memory of him. And so when she got restored, like shortly after, like it wasn't like a lot of time passed, she came back and like her kid's gone and no one remembers her kid. So that whole 5 issues, the first 5 issues of her solo book were her trying to track down her kid while also dealing with this gang war stuff. And she figures out that it was Hydra. And at the end of it, she finds out that Hydra basically keeps tabs on kids with superpowers, which he's the child of a person with superpowers. He also probably has them. And as soon as she got erased, and her boyfriend or friend, whatever he was at the time, kind of just left because he had no reason to be there and forgot the baby was a thing. They swooped in, took the kid, and basically erased any trace of him having ever existed. Okay. And then put him in a tank and like aged him up to an adult and brainwashed him into wanting to kill his mom. Oh, geez. Yeah. So it was one of those like absolutely batshit comics, but it was just like, okay, that's actually, I didn't expect that to be how it went. Like I honestly just assumed because she got severed from like reality that like maybe her kid just never existed or something. But it didn't go that way, and it was like, oh, that's a different way to do this, and that's going to end up being a long-term problem most likely for her. As like this kid is like, he is full on Hydra, like Hail Hydra, and she is decidedly not. Yeah. So that one, like those two in particular stood out really well. And then the Daredevil one, since it was either last year or the year before, there was a stretch where Matt Murdock Daredevil went to prison willingly. Somebody accidentally died during like him stopping a robbery, and like he admitted to it and let himself be imprisoned. Because superheroes, they just worked out that he didn't have to take his mask off. So like he would be imprisoned as Daredevil and would like keep his mask on at all times to avoid any sort of backlash on like his family. Like with him being incarcerated, like it was putting other people in danger if they revealed who he was. So while that was happening, Elektra took over the Daredevil role, and Matt's been back as Daredevil for a while, but Elektra kind of kept it up too. So the tie-in for Daredevil was just Elektra, and she ended up fighting. It's kind of like a clone of X-23, which is weird because X-23 is also a clone. But
too many clones. If you clone a clone, does that second clone come out deformed?
Kind of, actually. So they actually introduced these characters like almost a decade ago now, actually, I think. Where during the point where Wolverine was quote unquote dead, he was just he was literally trapped in a block of adamantium. X-23 became Wolverine, and during that arc, they found this like batch of like 11, 12-year-old girls that were cloned from her, I believe, that they didn't get it right, and their healing factor never worked. So they had claws, they coated the claws in adamantium and all that, but they were never able to get their healing factors to actually function right. So a lot of them are covered in scars because they were still raised to be like little monster assassins.
Mm-hmm.
And so Laura actually like rescues one of them, and that character actually becomes like a main part of her book and later X books. And she ends up, so I don't remember how they do it, but she does end up like activating her healing factor at one point. So I'm assuming that's what happened with this one too, because they do show at near the end that she does have a healing factor. But she's basically just a gun for hire now, gets hired by one of the gang leaders, and keeps getting into conflicts with Elektra, and is just basically looking for a way to prove that she is worth hiring, I guess, for the most part, by taking out like Elektra, who is a notable assassin. So that one was just cool because it was a lot of action and probably had the best artwork out of all the books. Wasn't like a standout story, but I feel like it could also go to some cool places later.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, like the main story was just very uneven. Like it kept almost being good and then doing something stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Isn't that just how comics always are, though?
I mean, not always. Like sometimes, like I said, the Miles book has actually been super solid. Things like Something is Killing the Children. Like I don't know that series has actually had a bad issue. It's just they take little breaks and stuff like that between arcs, but like every arc has been just fucking fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep doing a cool thing in that series where they'll kind of do like a present day arc for 10 to 15 issues, and then they'll do an arc that takes place in the past. So the first arc was the main character trying to stop like these monsters in a small town, which that's basically what she does. And then the second arc was showing how she became this monster hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And then the arc after that was her trying to stop more monsters while also being on the run from the group that trained her. And then the new arc that's just now starting is another. So here's what happened after the first part of her origin story. And it's just, yeah, like I don't know that series has had a bad book. And like there are other ones that are generally pretty good, like Tom Taylor's Nightwing. I want to say he's done close to 50 issues, if not a little bit more. And it's one of the best superhero books out there. Just 50 issues of like actually good Nightwing. Spider-Man is the one that seems to be all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
Or Spider-Man. But there's also like a bunch of different Spider-Man books. Like there's a Superior book happening right now. There's the Spider-Men, like an ongoing with Pete and Miles together. There's the Miles only book, the Pete only book. There's the Ultimate Spider-Man book. There's like a Spider-Gwen ongoing that just started. There's the Spider-Woman that's going. There's a Spider-Boy now that is a weird fucking character they introduced. Like, there's a lot of spider people.
Why? Who asked for it? Who asked for all these spiders?
Somebody. I mean, some of them are still very popular. Like, Spider-Gwen's generally super popular. I don't know if that's going to keep up because they're literally putting her into the main Marvel universe now. So she's losing a little bit of that, like, can have her own adventures.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's also fun seeing her interact with, like, the main Marvel characters that, like, she does know at this point. And same thing, like, Miles is super popular.
Yeah.
I feel like Spider-Woman's, like, hit or miss. Like, sometimes her books are really good, sometimes they're not. Yeah, there's a lot of fucking spider-related characters. It's like Batman. Like, the Batman and Superman books, there's, like, a billion of them, but only, like, one each of the actual, like, titular character.
Yeah.
Comics are nuts. That's all.
Comics are just too much. They're too much.
There's a lot of good ones, though.
Yeah, but they're too much.
They're not, though. They're fun.
Sometimes.
I mean, look, they're bad a lot, but they're also fun.
I still have to read my Doctor Who comic that I haven't finished reading. I started 3 months ago. I started in freaking February. I read the first act, or first chapter, and never finished it.
What a slacker.
Look, I've been busy. I've had a lot of games to play and catch up on, and surgery and things like that, that it's just been so chaotic that I haven't actually had downtime to sit down and read, which sucks.
I mean, that is fair, but you know, you got downtime later today.
Probably not. Probably not. We'll see.
Spend an hour, read a few pages.
No. An hour will be literally like 2 pages, maybe 3.
It's a comic.
It might be more than that, but
you should be able to finish it in an hour.
No, it's an omnibus. It's a big, heavy comic.
You should still be able to finish it.
That's just a single comic.
But what did you, kind of on trend with comic books, what did you think of, is this a rewatch for you of X-Men First Class?
Yeah, I've seen all the X-Men movies besides Dark Phoenix and New Mutants, so it is a
Okay,
rewatch.
I thought that was the case, but I just wanted to double check.
Yeah. So yeah, this week was First Class. It was good. I don't think it was as good as the original X-Men movie. I
Really?
do. Yeah, I do think it was better than. I do think it was better than the rest. Like it probably ties maybe. I don't think it was better than the first one, but it might tie. It might be like just under. I thought it was good. It was entertaining. I don't know. I felt like I had. I don't know. There were some things about it, and I can't really think of what like. And maybe I was being nitpicky or whatever, but just like some things about it, I was just like there's just a little much what you were going for or what was going on here. But I can't really think of anything right now. I watched it on Saturday morning, so like this is the furthest out from any of them. And when even going into recording today, I could not remember if I watched it. But like overall, it was good. It was better than the others that have come out besides X-Men 1. And it was interesting because this is where it kind of just proves 100% that this is its own timeline. Like even though they tried to, even as like everything was I remember the advertising for this movie, it was like, oh, this is just straightforward and this is all the same thing and it's supposed to be the same connected universe. But like the way they build it up, even put it all together with friggin' Mystique being like family with Professor X. And like you never see that sort of relationship at all in the movies, in the other movies. Like there's no, but yeah, there's no interaction between Mystique and Professor X in the first three. But it's still like it's awkward that they try to build up this whole like familial relationship between them two, and they're just never there. Also including having Havoc in this movie as a Summers in the 60s, it just doesn't work. Like
Yeah, I did think that was kind of dumb.
that doesn't work. We've talked about it before. Darwin gets shafted so hard. Like there's no reason he should have died. His ability is to survive that. It was it's funny to see that like the only reason Kevin Bacon's character, I can't remember his name, had the helmet that now is Magneto's helmet is because the Russians knew how to defend against psychic attacks.
So he was
Russians,
Sebastian Stan, if I remember.
yeah.
Shaw. I'm sorry, Sebastian Stan is the actor. Sebastian
Yeah.
Shaw is the
Yeah.
X-Men villain.
But like the Russians just decided to know how to fend off against psychic attacks. How do the Russians know how to do this? Makes no sense to me.
Because they worked on that stuff.
But how they didn't like mutants are still kind of new in this world. Like it's not openly known that there are mutants.
Yes, but this is also a world where, like in theory, like things like the Red Room exist.
Yeah.
A communist Russia would have absolutely like found children with weird powers and started experimenting on them, like without a doubt.
Maybe. I don't know. I think it was silly. Like I feel like that should have been something that that like Magneto would have like it shouldn't have been in this movie. I'm trying to think what else. Like the overall like it was a fine movie though. Like it just I don't know, some things just didn't quite hit at
It's
like
been a long
as
time
much as
for me, but I
remembered
do
it.
remember liking it.
Yeah, like I liked it. I'm not saying it was bad, but it's just like some things were like off. Some things just didn't really seem to make sense. It really does not seem well, no, I'm not saying he doesn't have motivation, but like Magneto's motivation was good, but at the end of the movie, there does not seem to be a motivation for Magneto to be the villain that he is in Days of Future Past. He got his revenge. Like it doesn't make sense for him to be against humans besides the fact that like Professor X got shot in the back because of fucking Magneto blocking a bullet. But then also on top of that, you have Professor X losing the ability to walk in this movie. But every X-Men movie or not every X-Men movie, but like let's go with Wolverine Origins, which takes place in the 80s and 90s. He's walking, and I think even in the other X-Men movies, if they go like when they go to Jean, when they go to get Jean in Last Stand, Professor X is walking. That's the 90s. Like it really doesn't.
That would in Last Stand that would have been like the 80s,
Yeah, but
maybe
still,
even
like
earlier.
at Professor X, but either way, like Professor X is walking, and like these, that's like the little subtlety, confusing things that doesn't make sense to me. Like,
I mean, that's just X-Men. Like literally, the X-Men
yeah,
don't make sense in
yeah,
any medium. They don't, like I just watched a few days ago the episode of the animated series in I want to say it's season 3. It's the season with Phoenix.
yeah,
It's the episode with Iceman.
yeah,
And the fact that the X Factor team that they have like a conflict with, Havoc's on it, and there's no reference to Havoc being Scott's brother at that point.
yeah. Was Havoc on there?
Yeah, he is
Yeah. Oh,
one
yeah,
of the X Factor guys that at that point that Polaris is involved with after I guess she broke up with Bobby and he just didn't get the memo. But
Yeah.
But also like half of that X Factor team are the fucking New Mutants.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, they don't know what they're doing half the time.
No.
But
Their freaking Deadpool was in a quick scene in the first season
of the animated
of
series?
the animated series.
I don't remember that.
It wasn't Deadpool like it was Deadpool. Like the design was Deadpool, but it was like I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Wolverine was hallucinating or something and sees Deadpool for a second.
Huh. I'm actually just curious. I'm looking.
Look it up. Look it up. Just Google
no,
Deadpool.
So it's not that. Like, okay, yeah, Deadpool would have come out the year before. Okay. For some reason, I thought Deadpool was introduced a little bit after the animated series, but he was introduced in 91.
Yeah.
Or 90, technically. Huh. Okay. That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, like the movie was good. There were some bits and bobs in it that I just like, I don't know, it disconnected me, or I wasn't. Maybe I got a little bored. Maybe I was just a little tired, but I wasn't entirely into it. But it was still a good movie. It's just I don't think it was as good as the original still. But maybe it might have just been how I was feeling at the time. But
which is totally fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I remember enjoying it, but I don't remember a lot of the details about it.
Yeah. It was. I'm trying to think. I don't know. It like a lot of the motivations in general. Like it was the what I remember when it came to the First Class series. It was originally supposed to be set up and to set up a basis around any major events that happened throughout time. The X-Men were supposed to have a hand in. So this was the Cuban Missile Crisis,
right?
And that's what they were trying to set up with First Class. And then instead of going into something with Days of Future Past being a setup for a major event in history in the 70s, which it still did take place in the 70s, it was its own thing. And that's like really what they leaned on hard was that this was, the X-Men had a hand in X political thing that happened in this time frame, which was a Cuban Missile Crisis. But like it really didn't make sense. Like you see at near the end, the friggin' the Blackbird is flying around over the waters, over the ocean, with the Cubans on one side, the Americans on the other, and then this ship that has had everyone killed on it still going. And you just see the Blackbird flying around, and no one's questioning why this frickin' advanced airship is flying around. No one's questioning this. The Americans aren't saying, what's that airship? The Russians aren't saying, what's that airship? No, it's just straight up, it is what it is. And I'm like, they would be going after that airship if it's neither of theirs, or one of them might think, but that's the thing, like, the Russians might have thought it's the Americans might have thought it was the Russians, and they didn't want to fire on them because then it would have started a war. But still, like, it was like, this is weird. But it was like cool to see Professor X actually teach the mutants how to control their powers, how to get better. Like Professor X actually be a professor and not just like a guy. Like he is still just a guy who can control minds, but not just be a guy who can control minds.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like that, you don't get a lot of him doing anything else.
Yeah,
like
it's
in the original movies or in the sequels to this one.
Yeah, it's the Batman issue. Like it's the Batman problem. In Batman movies, you see
Well, no,
Batman
that's the
be.
thing. In the Batman, he's actually a detective.
I haven't seen that yet. That was. I almost watched that this weekend. I was like,
It's good. It's worth watching. It's
I
long, but it's
almost
good.
done watch it. But yeah, it was a good movie. I'm excited to watch the Wolverine, which is the next movie.
I
I
remember
think that's
enjoying
what's
that
called.
one.
Yeah, that one was a good one. That was a good one.
Like
Um,
it was goofy at times, but like the whole like him going to Japan to like see the guy he saved in World War II, like that was
yeah,
interesting.
I can't 100% remember like because in the '90s comic or in the '90s cartoons, he goes to Japan to find himself. You haven't gotten to that yet. That's in season 4. It's actually I texted you a while back telling you to watch one episode before the other. This is part of that collection of episodes.
Okay.
He goes to Japan to find himself, and he encounters the samurai, Red Samurai, whatever his name is,
Silver Samurai.
Silver Samurai. Um, I don't remember the whole reasoning for him going to Japan in the Wolverine, but I do remember like he does meet up with the guy he saves during World War II during the bomb.
So that is why he goes to Japan. He's living in the mountains at the beginning of the movie after X-Men 3 basically. And the samurai girl comes and finds him and convinces him to, cuz she was raised by that guy's family.
Mm-hmm.
And convinces Wolverine to go see him cuz he wants to thank Wolverine for saving him in 1945.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that he actually just wants to steal
Take
Wolverine's healing factor.
Take the healing factor because he's dying because he was irradiated.
Irradiated, and also he was like 90.
Yeah.
And then Wolverine falls in love with his granddaughter or whatever, and
Yeah.
which is actually super like Wolverine going to Japan is very common.
It's very comic accurate. Even in the '90s cartoon, he goes to Japan, he falls in love with a girl while he's there. Like it's very comic accurate.
That's where Dakin comes from. It was the woman that he falls in love with in Japan. She is pregnant with Dakin when he leaves, and like I don't remember exactly how that all goes, but like Dakin's real name is like Akihiro or something like that.
Yeah. All this rewatching of X-Men has made me question and wonder. In the '90s X-Men cartoon, and we might have had this conversation in the past, I don't remember. The '90s X-Men cartoon, Professor X and Magneto just know each other, and they never specify what war, but they just say that Magneto's people were oppressed during a war. That's all they really say. They don't mention World War II or anything like that. In X-Men through the First Class series, it's World War II.
Yeah.
If they were to make, for instance, not War II, for instance, the MCU is incorporating X-Men, that would make Magneto 100 years old.
Yep.
Maybe, give or take.
He'd
be like 90 something.
Yeah, no, like 100%. It doesn't make a lot of sense. As far as I know, Magneto is still a Holocaust survivor in the comics. Like they've never retconned that. It was really weird. Like maybe 10 years ago, he had like a relationship with Rogue as like like an 82-year-old. But like to be fair, like old people in comics generally don't look old unless they're supposed to look old. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Madam Web, the original Madam Web, Cassandra Webb, she looked like an old woman. Aunt May looks like an old woman. Magneto does not look like an old man.
Yeah.
He looks like a very buff, middle-aged man that just went gray prematurely.
So, do you think in the MCU, do you think they're going to stick with Holocaust? Or do you think they're going to find a nondescript war? Or do you think they're going to create something new for the MCU?
You know, that's a good question. I feel like at this point they do have to make it something different, because even doing like an older guy like Ian McKellen was in the original X-Men movies, like there's a certain level of disbelief that you're just not going to have, saying like, oh yeah, like he was like a 10-year-old back in, or even a little bit older in 1943.
Yeah, like in the 90s, 2000s, and in 2000, it would have been 60 years, just under 60 years since World War II. So you could say that he'd be about 70 years old. It's perfectly reasonable for Ian McKellen. But at this point, he's leaning at 90. He has literally, it has been 90 years, no, 80 years since World War II ended. And if you're saying that he's 10 during the Holocaust, that's making him 90.
And like that's even being generous because
Yeah.
usually, so if they go with his powers, he got his powers during that, which I know like First Class I think did that. He like usually
They're teenagers.
Yeah, usually it awakens when they're like early teens.
Yeah.
Like it does happen earlier for some people, and I imagine there is some sort of emotional trigger that could also cause it, like the Sharingan. But yeah, like it's just like a 90, an 80-year-old person. Like you're kind of like limiting yourself there.
You're looking at least a 90-year, a 90-year-old person minimum.
So I feel like the easy thing for them to do, because they've already introduced fake countries, is to connect him to a fake country and maybe have him having been like a prisoner or a test subject or something like that as a child. Like Fantastic Four is coming before the X-Men. So like assuming they introduce Doctor Doom, maybe like Latveria. Like, because that's the sort of place that would do that kind of thing.
But then I hate to say it, I feel like that takes away from his origin of, like, it takes away the, what's the word? The representation of Judaism. If you just make him from a random country. Like, I feel like you have to keep him being a Holocaust survivor. Like, if they're incorporating the X-Men, they might not be allowed to, they're like, it's going to be hard to have Magneto unless here, Hydra kidnapped him.
Oh yeah, there you go. Like Hydra could be the
put him
thing.
on ice.
And so it's very rare that Magneto is linked with Judaism in any real way because he is so often a villain.
Mm-hmm.
They try, and frankly, like the comics try not to drive too much religion into them.
No,
I feel like the character that is more associated with any religion would be like Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel and Nightcrawler.
And Nightcrawler's a weird one because like he is like religious, but they never really specify what religion.
Mm-hmm.
But also Shadowcat, Kitty. She is Jewish. She actually usually if there's a scene with her outside of like her like X-Men uniform, she actually wears a Star of David necklace in a lot of panels and stuff.
Okay.
So like she would be more of one that writing her as like non-Jewish would be more, I don't know if it would be offensive is the right word, but just kind of like writing out a character's major history and not for no good reason. Like at least with Magneto, you're doing something as a way to make it believable that this character could still be alive and a threat. Because a 90-year-old guy is just not a threat.
Yeah. Unless all mutants just age slow. Like that's the only way they can do it.
We know that's not true, but I'm sure they could write something that like Magneto's magnetism makes him age differently or something. I wouldn't be surprised if a comic did that at some point. Like he ages, but he doesn't age, like his body doesn't age the same way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, it's been something I've been thinking. I was like, you can't really take away the Holocaust survivor from Magneto, but he's going to be too old to be incorporated into the MCU anymore. Like,
to be fair, we don't actually know that they're definitely going to use Magneto either.
True, but at the same time, he is a key X-Men villain. He's going to have to be a part of it. He's a key X-Men character, not necessarily just. He's a key X-Men character. He's going to have to be a part of it.
Probably, but at the same time, like they can kind of do what they want. Like they've done it with other stuff. Like the fact that they had to launch the MCU with D-list characters of the time.
Yeah, like
they're not opposed to kind of like taking a chance.
I said that a few months ago. I had mentioned like you do know that like I mentioned like you do know that the MCU was launched with no-name characters. They're like, nuh-uh. I'm like, no. Nowadays we know Captain America. We know Iron Man. We know. They're like, yeah, but they all had cartoons. Yeah, but the only names you really knew were the X-Men and Spider-Man. Like, they actually were picking, like, nerds knew Captain America. The world didn't know Captain America.
Yeah, there's a reason why the other studios bought the franchises they bought.
Yeah.
They bought Spider-Man, they bought the X-Men, they bought Fantastic Four, even Daredevil and Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
They
And like
didn't.
I wouldn't call like Iron Man and Captain America and all them D-list, but like they were the second tier character. They weren't what everyone knew. They weren't
I mean,
home names.
throughout the 80s and 90s, like they had great stories, but they were not the books that were selling comics, especially in the 90s when everything almost died. Like they were part of the Avengers, but that was kind of that was probably the biggest book that they were selling at the time. It in the mid 2000s, shortly before this stuff really started being made, that's where those characters did start to grow, because you had the extremist storyline that then went into, or that was right after Civil War. So you had like the whole Civil War thing, which Captain America and Iron Man were two big parts of that, which led into Winter Soldier. I want to say was before Civil War, because it was Civil War ended with Cap dying or being shot, and then Bucky picking up the Winter Soldier mantle. So like all that stuff was like 04 to like 07. So it kind of did run right into the launch of the MCU, and those movies would have been in development like prior to a lot of those comics.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were. There's a reason Marvel still owned the rights to make movies for them, because nobody else wanted to.
Yeah. But I think that's a show.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was a good one. Next week, we do have book club where we're going to be watching and talking about Labyrinth. So we have that. But if you would like to find more of our content, you can head over to www.one-quest.com. You can also help us out by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us there with your dollars, though, you can go to your favorite podcast platform, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, rate us, review us, subscribe to us. It all helps. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/onequestonline or at @one_quest on Instagram and Twitter. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/onequestvideo. And you can always send us an email to social@one-quest.com. And Rich, what does your streaming look like the rest of the week?
Check me out on twitch.tv/b_1. We're on video game streaming Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Thursdays is always Sea of Thieves. You can check me out on there. Sunday, we are doing some more Super Mario Odyssey. As mentioned early, were we recording when I mentioned this? I can't remember. We have only about 280 more stars I have to get. We have 680 total that I need to get, so we're at about 400. It's going to cost, I did the math wrong on Discord. I originally said it was 3,000. That's wrong. 4,000 bits from one person will get us the total number of moons that we need to get, or I believe it's 7 people do 1,000 bits will get us the total number of moons we need to get. Something like that. I can't 100% remember how it works, but we're close to needing 999 moons. So if you guys want to try to force me to get 999 moons, come hang out on Sunday for some Super Mario Odyssey. And then we'll be doing Mario Kart next week and a couple of other games.
Nice. And with that, we will be back next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.
See yas.